There we go. All right. Hey, family. So, the title of my little talk tonight is How do you thrive? How do you thrive when your sister's dead, but you're alive? Woo, Lord. That is a tough one. You can enter whatever loved one you may have lost under some circumstances. It doesn't even necessarily have to be about cancer. Unfortunately, I do know several people who have had to deal with losing a loved one from some type of cancer. My family happened to be stricken quite a bit with breast cancer in particular, but I also know family members, and just because of the age group that I am now, I'm getting close to 50, there are several of my friends, my classmates who are dealing with the loss of parents, the loss of siblings, the loss of other loved ones, even the loss of children at this point. And there is this thing that is called survivor's guilt that I just don't really hear a lot of people talk about. And so that's what I want to talk about with you today, family, is 5 steps to help you thrive with, in particular, I'm going to talk about cancer survivor guilt, but really 5 things that can help you thrive with survivor's guilt. So remember, I am not a therapist. Okay. I am just a layperson. I care about the overall wellness of all my siblings. And when I say all my siblings, that means you, not just the ones that I am related to by blood, but all of my siblings, my friends, my family. I really care about our overall wellness. And I just start with with mental wellness because where the head goes, right, the body follows. But I am not a therapist, and I have not been officially diagnosed with anything that is called survivor's guilt. But what I did find in my own research and my desire to know and understand myself and to unpack all of the emotion that I was feeling as a survivor myself, who then lost my sister less than 10 years from the time that I was a survivor. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I wish I could say that that was the only thing, but I've mentioned before, just in that decade was decade was crap. All right. And dealing with survivor guilt is real, y'all, and the shit is not easy, just to be completely frank with you. So, what I learned when it comes to survivor's guilt, I looked up a definition. It's because I like to be able to give you a definition, and the definition, according to Compass Oncology, is that survivor's guilt is a part of post traumatic stress syndrome or disorder, excuse me. And it's basically just the overwhelming feeling of sadness that some cancer survivors experience post their diagnosis and treatment regimen or time. All right. And it also happens, right, as we think about the fact that I'm still here, right? I'm still here. I'm still allowed to remain, even though others, and particularly in this case, my only sister, less than 2 years younger than me, went on from the same disease, right? And so, how did I know that I had the survivor's guilt? I didn't really know what it was at the time, but I know that I was having these symptoms, right? I was having many of the symptoms. I mean, I was questioning why, Lord, why am I here? Why am I allowed to survive? What am I supposed to be doing? Right? Who am I that I'm still here? I still feel like, and even now I deal with this, y'all. When I say now, this is, by the grace of God, if I make it to my birthday in May, I will be celebrating 18 years of survivorship. 18, right? Not eight, not 10, not five, not a few, but 18 years. And I still deal with some feelings and emotions Around the time, of thinking of my sister's birthday, around the time of my birthday, which was my original, diagnosis date, and around my sister's death date. But I still feel like that there was just more that I could have done to save her. Like, there was something more that I should have said, um, that I should have just really drilled into her the importance of listening to her care team, her oncologist. At the time I was in Georgia. I was trying to finish up my master's degree. I wasn't even home at the time to be able to be there with her during her initial diagnosis and when the most important decisions about her care was being made. And I still grapple with that at times. I feel guilt around my relationship with my children. I had the blessing of even last year, last May, celebrating a great milestone with my son and watching him graduate from college. And I can't lie to you. I was extremely happy, but there was also this undercurrent of guilt and sadness that I'm there to be able to celebrate that milestone with my child when my sister wasn't able to be there in that way for her own kids. Like, she wasn't able to be there for the birth of her grandson, right? Her daughter, I believe, was 11 or 12 when she passed, and her son was around 5 or so, 5 or 6, and he doesn't really remember that much about her. And that tears me up sometimes. The hardest part, that I deal with now, right, is really since my niece has had her son, and it's been about a year and a half. He was born in September of 2001. Yeah, 2001. So it's been a couple years, or not even 2 years. I'm sorry, but it's this guilt around feeling like I haven't followed through with all that I wanted to do, right? All the ways that I thought I would be able to help and to be of assistance, once my sister passed. All the things that I wanted to do for her 2 children, and the lifestyle changes that I felt like I needed to make for my own health weren't things that I started right away, weren't able to do, or just didn't do, right? I'm not trying to assign a good, bad, or indifferent, at this point. I'm certainly not trying to beat myself up for it. Decisions were made, and many of the decisions were the best decisions that I could make with the information I had at the time. But it's hard, y'all. It's hard, is all I'm saying. Why am I sharing this? Because as I mentioned before, I don't feel like it's something I hear many people talk about. And I still find myself having conversations with many women in particular who have been diagnosed since my diagnosis in terms of being there as a fourth angel, being available as just a listening ear, being available as a survivor, and an overcomer, and a thriver, after all these years, making myself available in a way that is not just lip service. It's not just the things that you think you should say, but it's really the willingness to share the difficulty of the whole experience. The experience of being a cancer survivor does not end with the last oncology appointment. It doesn't end with the last surgery. It doesn't end with the last tamoxifen tablet that you take. It doesn't end after that first year or two. It doesn't end after 5 years. I'm here again, anticipating 18 years of survival and still feeling the effects, not only mentally, but also physiologically, still feeling the effects that comes from being diagnosed, and not only being diagnosed, but having lived through that experience. So I don't want to leave you there, right? It's been a lot of work going on um post diagnosis and post um treatment, right? So diagnosis and treatment are not the same thing. Diagnosis is generally considered the day that you find out from your oncology team that whatever they found was cancerous. I never have said that I have or that I had breast cancer. I was diagnosed. I never claimed that thing. That's just me and the way that I deal with my faith. Never, ever, never, ever, never, never, ever did I have the breast cancer, and breast cancer sure as hell never had me. But I did go through some treatment, y'all, and some post traumatic stress and some things. And I want to end by sharing a few practical tips that you can think about if you find yourself in a place where you're dealing with some survivor's guilt. So, first and foremost, is something that you've heard me say before, and I will always say: acknowledge your feelings. Give yourself space to really feel what you feel without guilt, without shame. It is perfectly normal and even understandable to have these feelings when you remain. It's what I tell my brothers: we remain, we remain. All right. So acknowledge your feelings. Recognize that these feelings of survivor guilt is common. Many people go through it. We may not be able to name what it is. We may not ever get the official diagnosis about it, but it's understandable and it is okay to feel what you're feeling. It's not okay to stay there. I certainly don't want you to wallow in it to the extent that you start to feel depressed or that you remain depressed. Like, even feeling depressed is okay. Remaining there and not acknowledging it and putting forth a plan to deal with it is not okay, because I don't want you to get to a space where you're feeling suicidal, where you don't think that you matter, or that you can't find your purpose and your reason for living. Second, I want you to understand survivor guilt. Get on Google, get in the library, look it up, do some research on what survivor guilt is. Educate yourself about it and its causes, okay? Learn to recognize the symptoms of it and how it can impact your life. Just learn more about it. Knowledge is so powerful. Knowledge is one of those things that helps to move those feelings out of that murky, I don't know what to do, I don't know what this is, it's only me phase into, you know what? Oh, here's some information. I'm not the only one out here. Not only am I not the only one out here, but other people have been out here doing this research and putting forth this information to be helpful. Third is connection. It is such a trick of the enemy, whether you believe in God or not. If you believe in God and the devil, it's a trick of the enemy. It's a trick of your mind. It's a trick of whatever you want to call it, to isolate and try to make you feel like you want to go inward. This is the time to connect with others. Please seek support, specifically from cancer survivors and other support groups. Seek support from a therapist. Y'all, it is okay to go to therapy. We need to normalize that. Just like you go get your hair done, you go to your barber regularly, you go get your nails done regularly. We need to really normalize seeking professional help, whether that's a counselor or a psychologist or a therapist or a social worker, or if you can't access a professional, someone who has the ability to actually hear, to receive you, to make space for you to come and be vulnerable in this thing, to ugly cry, to snot, to cuss, to throw stuff, whatever it is that you need to do in order to feel connected. You are not alone, and it is not a mistake that you remain. All right. I'm telling you this from what I had to learn myself. You are not a mistake. It is not a mistake that you're here, right? Connect with those who understand what you may be experiencing at various stages, right? People who may be at the same stage as you, and then people like me who have been allowed to be here for as many years as I have, and even those who have survived and thrived in this thing, 20 plus years. I pray to get there. I pray to get there. I really need to start planning something right now for that 20th year. Yes, Lord. I'm putting that in the atmosphere. I'm going to need big money to do it. All right. Four, practice self care. Please take time, take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. This includes getting enough rest. I am reading a book right now called Rest is Resistance. And baby, let me tell you, you need to pick it up. You need to pick it up. We definitely need to normalize that rest is not a reward. Rest is not a reward after you done drove yourself crazy, drove yourself half bald headed because your hair is coming out, drove yourself to a place where your health is poor, drove yourself to some whatever standard or measurement of success before you allow yourself to get some rest. So I will tell you this one thing that I've learned from this experience of being on this earth and starting to get to the aches and pain stages of life. If you don't sit your behind down, your body will sit your behind down for you. Your health will make you take a break. So practice self care, get enough rest, eat well, right? Not eat well like, oh, I was at the Ponderosa. And again, I'm sure my age because is there still Ponderosa? But I was at the buffet, and I was had the steak and the filet mignon. And I said that wrong on purpose. But eating well, right? Eating my aunt. Again, I have another aunt who passed from breast cancer shortly after I was diagnosed. Um, who said that she wasn't living to eat any longer, but she was eating to live. So, what are the things you need to put in your body to live well, to eat well? And then engaging in activities that bring you joy. Man, just the little things, right? Maybe you can't get out and travel as much right now, depending upon where you are in your treatment phase or even post treatment, but laughing, dancing, getting out in nature, if you are a crafter, or if there was some type of craft or what do you call it, hobby that you had, right? Making sure that you're staying connected with those things that bring you joy. Okay, self care. And then last is number five. And this is where I'm on all of these steps at various times. But in five is giving back. Right. Consider volunteering, finding ways to give back to others affected by cancer. It's amazing a lot of times to me how my feelings of guilt can be alleviated when I have a sense of purpose. And perhaps the only reason I remain, and even if it's the only reason to remain, is to be able to be available to help someone else, to talk with someone else. And it's not even about talking, y'all. It's really just sitting with and being with someone else. Then you know what? Praise God. Praise God. Thank you, Lord, for using me. I've had some amazing conversations with some amazing women over these past really like 15 years. I sought a support group myself when I was going through breast cancer. But I was only 30, y'all. The people at the oncology office did not look like me. They were older women at that time. I didn't see that many women that looked like me. So I got involved with an organization called The Gathering Place in Cleveland, Ohio. If you're not familiar with The Gathering Place, it is a phenomenal organization for cancer survivorship, as well as for those who are cancer caretakers, because they also need help. Hey, if you are the one out there caretaking someone who's been diagnosed, Yes, you need to probably follow these steps as well to make sure that you're staying well, um, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, additionally. So, acknowledge your feelings was the first one. Two, doing some research that you understand survivor's guilt. Three, connecting with others. Four, practicing your self care. And five, giving back in some way. Giving back. Okay. I thank you for being with me, not just tonight, family, but some of you have been there from day one. Some of you received that phone call from me not too long after I received the call from the doctor's office on my 30th birthday. God is so funny sometimes. I don't like his sense of humor. He play way too much. But I thank you for being there with me. I thank you for those who've been there from the beginning. I thank you for those who have come along with me along the way. I thank you to my love for accepting me, right? You see me when I'm put together more often than not, but he's the one that sees me when everything comes off and sees the scars, right? And sees the implants and sees the tears and sees the self-doubt, and sees the guilt and the other things that I go through that are things that many people go through, but it's also exacerbated by having this particular experience. And so here's my ask at the end of this. All right. I thank you for bearing with me. I know it may have felt like I ghosted you. I started a new job and I am really trying to adjust to being out of the house. It is not a work from home or work from anywhere, which is what I'm still praying for, Lord. But this is the detour and the assignment He has me on, and I accept. So I thank you for bearing with me. But when it comes to giving back, if you want to help me celebrate my sister and the legacy that she left behind, her legacy is with her two children, Michelle and Jamal. And then now also with her grandchild, the one who made me great, because now I'm a great auntie, Adonis. I'm really going to ask if you would be willing to share monetarily, to share some money. Let me just make it plain, share some money. Particularly if you're able to do that through Cash App. And if you would go to my Facebook page, to find that Cash App address, I think it's dollar sign LILMICHELLEJ. And the title will come up as Adonis H, ADONNIS H. So I don't know what it's like to be a young mother without my mother. My niece is a young mother. She's doing the best that she can with raising her little boy, not having her biological mother there to support and guide her. And in a lot of ways, not necessarily having me as her aunt available because I just wasn't available. I'm very grateful and thankful to the Jackson family, particularly to Marie and her family, her kids, for taking my niece in and caretaking my niece and my nephew. And I do want to say that publicly, that I'm eternally grateful for the way they were able to step in. I was just a hot mess after my sister passed for a long time. And sometimes you cannot do and be the person that you thought you would be able to do and be because the circumstances are just too heavy. And so I made it all the way to this without any tears in my eyes. But I'm ending this in gratitude and asking that you would share your abundance, with my niece, at that Cash App. All right, and that's it. I'm back, y'all. Catch me again next Tuesday at 7 p.m. If you have ideas around things you want me to share, then feel free to put that in the comments. Otherwise, I'll make something up. I'll come back to you with some tips about something next week, probably around my life, because who else life am I living? I love you, family. This is your sister, Erica, Erica Jefferson Rivers. And until next time, bye.
You off?